In the dark, Gia turned on the candles as tears streamed down her eyes. Ask the month pass by, slowly into dilemma. These nights just never seems to end. I brace myself for a new dawn. This is my story. A knock at the door broke the silence, and Lucia hastened to answer it. Her eyes widened in surprise as she saw Gia standing on the threshold, a bright smile on her face. Gia! Lucia exclaimed, as the two friends flung their arms around each other in a passionate hug. My baby is finally back. Lucia cooed, holding Gia at arm's length to gaze at her. I've missed you so much. As night fell, Lucia and Gia settled into a cozy conversation, catching up on lost time. Lucia's curiosity got the better of her, and she asked Gia to regale her with stories of her service year. Gia's face lit up with excitement as she began to recount her experiences. Oh, girl, service year was a whirlwind, but the best part was meeting the love of my life, Gia gushed. He's absolutely divine, every woman's dream come true. He's been taking such good care of me, spoiling me rotten. And guess what? He gave me 500,000 naira just for my upkeep, and promised to start a business for me. Lucia's eyes widened in feigned amazement, a pretend smile plastered on her face. You're so lucky, bestie, she said, trying to sound sincere. I'm happy for you. But as she spoke, she was already calculating how she could get her hands on some of that money. She promised to give Gia 200,000 naira, all the while plotting her next move. Later that day, Gia's phone rang, and she answered it with a flirtatious giggle. As she chatted with her boyfriend, her face glowed with happiness. After the call, she let out a squeal of delight as she received an alert on her phone. Oh my God, Lucia, my boyfriend just sent me a huge sum of money. She exclaimed. It's for the business he promised to start for me. Lucia's smile faltered for a moment, before she regained her composure. That's amazing, Gia, she said, her voice dripping with insincerity. I'm so happy for you. But as she smiled, a sinister plot was brewing in her mind, and her eyes gleamed with a malevolent intent. Lucia's mind was consumed by a toxic mix of jealousy and insecurity as she gazed at Gia. Is she better than me? Is she prettier than me? Why does she always seem to have everything I want? The question swirled in her head like a vortex, fueling her resentment towards her friend. I won't take this lying down, Lucia thought to herself, a sinister plan beginning to form in her mind. I'll take her man, and I'll make her regret ever having him. Without Gia's knowledge, Lucia snuck into her room and snatched her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found the number of Gia's boyfriend, Dante. She quickly memorized the number and returned the phone to its original place, a sly smile spreading across her face. As the days passed, Lucia began to secretly chat with Dante, pretending to be someone else. She was careful to keep her interactions with him hidden from Gia, who remained oblivious to the deceit. When Gia asked her who she was talking to, Lucia brushed it off, saying it was nobody. One day, Lucia packed her bags and announced that she was leaving to visit her sick father. I'll be back soon, she said, her voice dripping with innocence. But little did Gia know, Lucia had other plans. Dante was taken aback by Lucia's beauty when they finally met in person. You look even more stunning than your pictures, he said, his eyes locked on hers. As they sat down to dinner together, Dante couldn't help but praise Lucia, and she lapped up the attention like a hungry cat. From that moment on, their connection grew stronger, and Lucia found herself falling deeper and deeper under Dante's spell. Meanwhile, Gia was growing increasingly worried. She had been trying to reach Dante for weeks, but his number was always unreachable. She had also been trying to contact Lucia, but her friend's phone was also not going through. A sense of unease settled in the pit of her stomach, and she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I need to see him, Gia thought to herself, her anxiety spiking. I hope he's safe. With a sense of trepidation, she decided to travel to see Dante, her heart racing with anticipation. As she arrived at Dante's house, Gia's hands trembled as she raised them to knock on the door. But what she saw when the door opened changed her life forever. Lucia, her supposed friend, stood before her, heavily pregnant and beaming with pride. Gia's eyes widened in shock as she took in the scene, her mind reeling with questions. What is she doing in my man's house? Why is she pregnant? Gia's voice trembled with emotion as she confronted Lucia. This is how you betray me. By stealing my Dante. I don't blame you, I blame him for choosing you over me. The pain and hurt in her eyes were palpable as she gazed at Lucia, who stood before her, heavily pregnant and unrepentant. Lucia, however, looked remorseful, her eyes welling up with tears. Gia, please forgive me, she pleaded, her voice cracking with emotion. I never meant to hurt you. I know we were best friends, and I'm so sorry for my part in this. Dante, who had been watching the exchange, finally spoke up, his voice laced with regret. Gia, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you either. I know you and Lucia were close, and I'm deeply sorry for coming between you two. Gia's eyes flashed with anger and hurt as she turned to Dante. You're sorry. You're sorry for choosing her over me. For throwing away our relationship like it meant nothing. Her voice rose, but Dante held up his hands, a calming gesture. Gia, please listen. I know I hurt you, and for that, I'm truly sorry. But I have to be honest with you, I've moved on. Lucia is now my wife, and she's carrying my child. I know this may be hard for you to hear, but I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me and move on as well. Gia's face crumpled, and she felt like she had been punched in the gut. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Dante, the man she loved, had chosen her best friend over her, and now he was married to her and having a child with her. The pain and betrayal were too much to bear, and Gia couldn't say a word. She simply turned and walked out, leaving Lucia and Dante to their newfound happiness. That is my story. I lost my man to my best friend. Learn to keep your secret to yourself. I need you. But you need her. She is the one you prefer. She is the one I wish to disappear. She blew the candles as tears streamed down her eyes. Thanks for watching.